Welcome back, everybody. Hope that you're here and enjoying your Sunday night live here on RGR Football. We are going to go over what we want to see from OTAs. It's getting closer. They're about to kick off. We're going to go through what we're expecting. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. This is premiering live, but we are pre-recording this because tomorrow night's live Q&A is going to take it out of me. I'm just going to tell you. So you might as well be there for that, and we'll answer your questions then. You can super chat and do everything that you want like you normally would tonight. Feel free, and we'll answer those on the Monday night Q&A. He's Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is RGR Football. Dan, are you excited yet?
I mean, literally feels like the draft was wrapping up, and we got 3 months till the OTAs, and oh, look at that. It's almost the end of May. Things are just like they're ramping up. Training camp's coming through. OTAs are here. I'm just excited. Now football season is coming around the corner. We still got some time, but not too far removed from the Chiefs winning their second Super Bowl in 4 years, which is just
epic. Really,
it's unfathomable to think about when you go back to even to Trent Green days where the offense was really good, but they never could get over the hump. It felt very reminiscent of the Alex Smith offense, and now we're here with Patrick Mahomes at the helm, and honestly, doesn't feel like there's anything stopping him because he's one of the first quarterbacks in recent memory. Actually, I think he's the only quarterback in a very long time to win a Super Bowl on his rookie deal and then reset the market and win the Super Bowl again. That shows you what they've been able to do and how they've had to change the way that they win Super Bowls. Like if you look last year, 9 of their 11 defensive starters, tweeted this out, 9 of 11 of their defensive starters last year were drafted players, all of them. And then if you even go further, 17 of their 21 or of their 22 first and second string defensive players, all drafted. They have done an incredible job of bringing in young talent and making it fit what they want to do. It's not about having the best defense. It's not about having the best players on defense, honestly, anymore. It's about finding a defense that fits Patrick Mahomes, because you don't have to have a Patriots top 3 consistent top 5 defensive DVOA year in and year out to win a Super Bowl like Tom Brady used to have to in his first couple of seasons. It's different now. It's a completely different realm where if you have a good enough defense, Patrick Mahomes can take you the rest of the way. So yeah, this is exciting. This is exciting.
I agree with you, and I like the way that you put that because we don't often, outside of the actual draft cycle, we don't give enough credit to the front office about doing this because, and I built a pyramid graph a few years ago that really shows like rookie contracts versus sophomore contracts versus et cetera, and I keep calling them sophomores. Yeah. I know, folks, they're second-year players. I get it. But like that's really the structure that they've been able to put in place from classic, like this is the way it ought to be done to what they are doing is a mirror. And yes, there's always things that have to come in there. Tyreek Hill was the first major hurdle. Chris Jones is now the second major hurdle about what do you get to that point when you do through homegrown manufacturing and the pyramiding of those layers get to the point where you do have another elite talent besides Patrick. Those are the little segues at the very top of the pyramid that make the difference. But the volume comes from underneath. I think we've seen that in the last 3 draft classes. I'm excited about this one too. It's going to be a little bit different. We will talk to you guys about some of that because today, overall, what we want to talk about is what does this OTAs need to look like for us to feel like it was successful? There's plenty of topics, I guarantee you. But what is the number one thing for you, Dan, that you want to see happen right now in this particular OTA session?
Man, this is always where you're trying to figure everything out for me. Like you're trying to see what structure the team is going to look like going into training camp. And we know, roughly what the outline of the offense and defense is going to look like. I want to see Justyn Reed be a vocal leader. I want to see him be more vocal. I want him to, they're not going to be hitting each other. So one of the ways you can come out and make an impact in OTAs is by being loud, being noisy, and telling everyone where they're supposed to be. It's a very young defensive group. It's a very young secondary group, and he's going to be one of the leaders, especially now that Juan Thornhill's not there. They have young players behind him and underneath him. So he needs to be going out there communicating with everybody where they need to be. He said that he's felt better now about his own play than he has in a long time. He says he's better than he has been. Those are tweets. And we know you got to come in, you got to show it, because I think after he was talking before the Bengals game in the regular season last year, he really kind of put up and shut up at the same time. He was just like done talking, and he was let his play do the talking. Now he's got to do both, in my opinion. You have to step up in your second year in this defense. You have to be a vocal leader, and one way to do that is to continue to show that you know where you're supposed to be, and you know where everyone else has to be, especially in the secondary, to be in charge of that secondary unit and that defense.
And the leadership role is changing. They brought him in here to be a leader. And I think, honestly, that's part of what they saw when he was playing with Tyrann Mathieu. And obviously, there's a connection there. But now it's got to switch, because last year he was the new guy that they want to be the leader. But Juan had to teach him, right? Like, Juan is the more experienced guy in the system. Now he has to then train his new partner in Bryan Cook, being a starting level player that's going to have to play the 2 high with him. And I think that shift is where he can make that impact. The big thing for me is I've been a big proponent, and I think everybody knows that this guy is I mean, he's my guy.
He's your guy. He is your guy.
He's my guy. I can't get away from that. Good, bad, or indifferent, penalized, unpenalized, it doesn't really matter. Don't bite the tip of your tongue off by spiting your face. That's one important thing. But Brian's in an interesting position. I talked about this on Locked On Chiefs as well. Like, this is where he can take a step forward, because I do think he's got more opportunities with Justyn. I think they'll be a little bit more interchangeable. I think that will lead to more opportunities. So what I want to see in OTAs is who comes away. Interceptions in OTAs is not that important, but who's around the ball the most? Can he make that transition to being a part-time player to being a full-time player and still get to the ball? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, they need to be able to have all that continuity coming back. Bryan Cook, and it's, he learned last year quite a bit in his up and down, mental mistake, a little bit of emotional play that you can sometimes have as a rookie. And that's something that this year, it kind of has to be done away with. You are now the starter. You have to let everything else speak for itself. Let your play do the talking, maybe speak. He's also going to have an opportunity to be a vocal leader, because he definitely has that set the tone mentality. It definitely feels like he wants to be one of those guys that comes in, makes those big hits, but you can't do that in OTAs. If you want to be a leader, this is one of those times where you can really set yourself up as a position to do that with communicating. Communication is so important. It's vastly different than it is at the linebacker and defensive line level. Being able to communicate with your corners and with your other safeties, you always have to pass off guys. Get that communication down now. Get it down now. Be able to do this all the way through training camp, preseason, and into the regular season, and then we're going to see a much better flow from everybody. So I think Bryan Cook, second year with Justyn Reed, who's again 26 years old, still a young guy. These guys are going to have an opportunity to come into OTAs and really set the tone for the communication standpoint that needs to lead in throughout the regular season. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure the team is as well. Kind of tired of the slow starts from the defense. I think that now you're seeing they need to start a little bit more on the same page, and they need to have better communication style. There was a built-in excuse last year. Lots of young players, ton of turnover on the secondary level. This year, yeah, Juan's gone, but you have roughly the same group of secondary starters that you had last year. This no more real excuse for the mental mistakes going into the season. Get on a hot level and make yourselves known to the NFL that you guys are ready to stop starting slow.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you put it in a really good way too, because they were all so young making that transition. We know about how they worked together to make the transition, but now that's a year in, and they all played at times significant snaps, but they all played snaps. Outside of Najee Johnson, I think he does have a tough battle, but I think he's a guy that showed enough that he might still be able to make the roster. But those 4 core rookies from last year can now, I think, start to let things fall away, and they don't have to think as much in terms of the communication, being able to hand things off. I think they're in a much better position. I can see all of them raising their level of play together. I'm pretty excited about that, because all you have to do is let L'Jarius go be L'Jarius. Yeah. I still feel he can turn into a number 1 shutdown corner if he's allowed to just do his thing. And that requires the other 5 guys in the secondary to be able to do that as well. And I am counting all 6 guys that might be out there at a given time, because you never know what Spags is going to do. Mike Edwards is going to play a role in that safety group in particular. And like, if you guys missed it, we've talked about Jamar Conner. Jamar Conner is going to be all over this place. I think especially in OTAs, because if I am Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt, I'm like, I love what the kid brings. He allows me to replace L'Jarius Sneed on the inside nickel blitz package with someone who's nearly as good, at least in college. L'Jarius did get home a little bit more often. Jamari's done a good job. Like, they should hit that right now and just throw the fire hose at him and see how much he can drink. Because if he can get OTAs down, that's the next step forward for this evolution of the secondary is, can he be out there and let L'Jarius just take away the number one receiver?
I think that he might be one of the most important rookies for OTAs might be the most important for him out of almost any of the rookies, because again, you have to know so much as a member of the secondary in Steve Spagnuolo's system. This is going to be his first real full-fledged moment. Yes, they had the rookie mini camps. That's just getting your feet wet, used to the NFL ways. Like, that's all that is. It's an introduction to, hey, guess what? This is your life now. This is your job. This is not a, just a college thing that you do. You're here now to earn yourselves a paycheck and to win championships. Okay, that's what this is about. It's no longer about learning the college game. This is what it's about. So rookie mini camps are good for that, but I think OTAs coming in for him is going to be so important, because you're going to be taking over next year at some point for two of these veteran safeties in Deion Bush and Mike Edwards. He's going to be the guy next in line, and he's probably going to have an opportunity to be a slot corner as well. And it's just a little bit of learning that slot corner, that safety. You have to learn all the safety positions, but then also corner, because he has that versatility to him. This OTA rep is going to, or chances for him is going to be really, really important for him to get his feet wet, to see how he handles everything mentally. Lots of information last year in his senior season at Virginia Tech, which I think will be important because it showed that he can adapt to situations and consistently churn out productive seasons. He was again productive last year, making that more of a switch to slot corner last year, which is, what we saw coming out and why he kind of went further than he did as a safety. But they had him as a third round grade. He came out as our safety, 3, I think, in the class when all was said and done, with his film grade and his analytic grade and his athletic grade. So we're talking about a guy who could end up playing a lot of snaps in this defense in a couple of years.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that goes a long, long way. He's going to have an opportunity. I think Nick Jones will as well. I think he and Ozzie Johnson are going to be in a pretty good battle. But this is the next thing for me, is this group. Just like last year's rookie class, how fast can they get together? It's different, clearly, because it's not all secondary. Nick and Jamari, I think, are going to be working together. So are Felix and BJ, to tell you the truth. And I think just judging by how excited Joe Cullen is, like, I think BJ is going to be somebody that they want to get a good look at in this OTA session over the next, another 3 to 5 weeks, something like that, before they take their break before camp. Just putting them together, having guys that can come along together, I think is going to help. Now, Condor is going to have his own deal. And yes, you guys, if you haven't seen anyone happier to become a Kansas City Chief, Condor Coburn might be it, because like the joy that comes out of him just lining up to Chris Jones. I want to see what the 2 DT sets look like in this OTAs, just to see how he comes off the ball and if they're taking a good look at him. But it is Felix and BJ that I'm excited about too, because if Joe Cullen's excited, that means that I have to be. It's a buy rule of this channel, like what Joe says I'm going to do. So, who are you most excited of the 3 of them, though, in terms of what they can do in this OTA session to take the next step forward?
For me, it's Felix, because I do believe he's going to be designated as a pass rusher early in this defense. He's going to have some growing pains with learning how to stop the run. I do think there's going to be a veteran defensive end acquisition at some point. We know Chris Jones is on the bring Frank Clark train back. I think that would be one of the best moves to help Felix learn, because he's that guy. Like, that's what he's really best at this point in his career. And honestly, from a playing style perspective, the weight loss that we saw Frank Clark have last year, I think, was probably some of his best football as a Kansas City Chief, outside of maybe his first season in that playoff run, he was just kind of incredible in his first playoff run in Kansas City. So you have all of those things. And I think that, like I said, Felix is I think he was one of the most polished pass rushers coming out of this class. And I know that to some, that means that equates as the 37th best defensive end in the class. But that's just not how this works for me. I mean, when you have the bag of tools and bag of tricks that Felix has, the get off, the speed, the quickness that he shows on a snap, and the effort the effort, I tell you, is better than 90% of the defensive ends in this class too. And he's with another guy who is known for his effort in George Karlaftis. So I think that these two guys, young, and that really kind of brings us the hallmark of this defense is going to be we're not giving up. Like, we're going to get to the quarterback at whatever means necessary. But the two have a play style that feeds into one another, because Felix is more of a Joe Cullen type defensive end. He's not the pure speed guy, but he has speed, he has length, he has this relative size you're looking for, and the tool bag that Joe Cullen wants to refine. And then you have George, who's more of a power-based guy who's trying to more right now bully. We're going to see how his hand usage is. That's another thing that we're going to get to see at OTAs from George. This is hand usage. He's been working with Tom Bahali in the offseason. We're going to get to see the fruits of that labor, hopefully. But he is more of a power guy. He's not going to win quickly. One guy who can is Felix. Is going to feed into some of those maybe late wins from George Karlaftis this year. And I do think, play style, they fit well together. So for me, it's Felix getting everything together for him and how he's going to be fitting into this defense and get to be one of the more, I guess, foundational pass rushers on this defense.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I see him as a little bit more raw. Like, he does have tools, but I don't think he really knows how to use them yet. So for me, it's going to be, from what I just finished watching, 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
What do I see in OTAs if I get any good looks? And the beat reporters will be out there, folks. They won't be out there for the full sessions, but we should get a little bit of film from time to time. But how much progress can he make just in learning? He seems like a kid that's hungry to learn. I love the pairing with George Karlaftis with two guys that are that relentless. That should be like the new phase of what this defense becomes. That is kind of overwhelming everywhere. Like, there's always going to be pressure from L'Jarius Sneed on the blitz. Shamari Connor's going to fill that same kind of role. Yeah. There's always going to be heat coming from Leo Chanel coming down inside the box, right? Especially if he's lined up between the tackles, which we'll talk about that in another show here in a week or two about where evolution is going. But that relentlessness can just fill across the entire front, and I'm excited about that. What I'm concerned about is how quickly Rasheed can get into the offense.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple of candidates, and Brett Veach has been, excuse me, he's making me all verklempt. He's serious about just how he feels Toney can be a number one, and they are sold out behind that. And just that conviction gives me a little bit more oomph behind trying to be open to it. But it's this guy for me that I think Sky Moore allows the floor to raise enough so that Kadarius Toney can be a number one, because you can't give up the dual capacity inside with Travis. We'll do a rundown here probably of weapons overall when they get probably through OTAs, so we know who's looking like what. But this guy right here, Sky Moore, gives Kadarius Toney the floor to go be that number one that's got to move out from the interior lineups. He's got to be able to line up outside consistently. He's got to be able to run different routes than he did, and that's what Brett Veach has been hinting at. But how do you do that? You have to have a player inside that can take up that slack as well. So I'm pretty excited. And I bring this picture up because I wanted to show everybody just like, this is what this means to this kid. He had a rough start, but he is fired up. And I'm excited to see how they choose to deploy it. It's not going to be anything fancy in OTAs, but who lines up in what packages and who's doing what type of route running. I hope that we get enough information that Chiefs aren't going to be, super double secret on the video camera there.
You never know, man. We always know that they want to keep stuff behind the curtain a little bit, even though like during training camp last year, they had Sky Moore lining up in the backfield a ton, and then everyone got really excited, like, "Hey, Sky's going to be like this running back, wide receiver." No. Andy Reid was just messing around with some stuff, and I think that tells you what he likes to do in training camp. Get a little bit different, but based off of what Sky Moore already does, he did a lot more of moving outside and inside than I expected of last year. He was much better playing outside and doing everything that he was asked of him that I think most people expected. And again, last week I did my breakdown, my year in review on Sky Moore, looking at 7 of his games. Like I went in depth. I went through every single snap, every single route that he ran, all the blocks, all that stuff. And he was still a good player. I think that understanding zone is definitely more of a work in progress for just about every receiver that comes into the NFL, except for the top tier guys. Like, those are different players, especially if you play like people don't appreciate, in my opinion, Jamar Chase. Like, he played with Joe Burrow, and they have the same intellect. Like they see the defense the same way. That's why getting them on the same team was so important for them and for doing that, to be able to get that. So understanding zone is such a difficult process with all the different things that you have to do from an Andy Reid route tree perspective. Reading leverage. You have to be able to see the defense like a quarterback does at times as a wide receiver, to be able to break properly and be where you're supposed to be on the field when Patrick expects you to be. So being able to come in, learn all of that, honestly, to just kind of will himself through the struggles with special teams early to make a huge play on special teams against the Bengals. They don't win that game again. They don't go to the Super Bowl without the return probably from Sky Moore to set them up to be able to hit that game-winning field goal. So you have all these different things that you built up, and every time he made a play, he was fired up. Every single time. It didn't matter. So how small it was, how big it was, he caught a lot of first downs on his targets as well. That's a big key, because this offense is built on first down, look for a chunk play, look for a big play. They want to just wear a defense down, bring those safeties in, bring those corners in a little bit, and then hit them over the top. That's what they want to do now. That's what this is about. It's not about coming out on first down and chucking the ball downfield because we had Tyreek Hill. No, it's about say, hey, you guys want to play off? That's fine. We'll take 7. We'll take 10. We'll take 11. And then boom, that's when they want to take those big shots downfield. So Sky Moore brings that from that level of the floor up as well, because he's not, in my opinion, I know some people disagree, Sky Moore is not going to be a deep level threat. He is not going to do that for you. He's also not going to be the best from a yak perspective. Like, he's not going to do everything you saw even McCole Hardman do to an extent, with breaking ankles and just taking those angles and just running them out. He's going to give you tough, fought yards after the catch. That first guy, he's like, yeah, I can make you miss. The reacceleration isn't always there. He doesn't have that oomph after. That's why you see Toney in their eyes as this possible number one from an athletic perspective and a burst standpoint. Yes, I understand that completely. Hopefully his body is up for that challenge. We'll find out. But yeah, Sky Moore raises the floor of the offense from just a consistently grinding out first down perspective. I think he and Travis Kelce can offer a same type of role in this offense and just constantly churning out first downs. Travis Kelce does so much from a first down perspective. It goes kind of unmonitored. Almost all of his tons of his catches just go for first downs. Like he's constantly moving the chain. So you bring that with Sky Moore and you really have something here.
I like what you said. I feel he has a little bit more upside in yak. I think he needs to learn to take those angles better, and I think he can do that. So maybe I'm a little more optimistic than you. But I think he and Rashee Rice are in this position where they can absorb some of those Juju tough yards, contact-oriented routes. That's what I'm excited about. The other thing that I'm excited about is hopefully, and this isn't confirmed yet, but hopefully we get to see this guy, because there's so much hype about what's been going on. I'm just ready. I'm just going to tell you I'm ready because I want something confirmed. Can Justyn Ross get back? Can he be anywhere close to what he was? I know Patrick's called him out a couple times in this, off-season bit that he's been working hard on that kind of thing. I think people were disappointed he wasn't at the rookie camp. Fair enough. OTAs, it's about getting back out there. And have you learned enough of the offense? That's going to be the key for me, is the mental side. Have you done enough? Because you had all that time to take mental reps, to study the playbook, to understand the concepts. And yes, it all changes. We have to be realistic. It changes for the Reid offense every year, right? But setting it up from last year lets you make that adaptation. So I don't know that there's a whole lot of excuses left for Justyn Ross right now. If he's healthy and he's not ready to participate and understand this offense, I think that could be an issue.
Yeah, that's what this, again, you had all the time. And again, not everyone learns at the same speed. We have to remember that as well. Like, things are different. If he's fully healthy at this point, there was a lot of hype from a health perspective last year before he got hurt. Patrick Mahomes was talking him up. The team was talking him up, and they thought, he had the talent to really be something. But at the end of the day, right now, if you are healthy, if your body's ready to go, and it's a work in progress, and you're not getting open in OT. I don't know what his OTA status is. Like you said, we don't know. Well, we're going to find out. Probably not until the very first day of OTAs, because that's what Andy Reid wants to do. He doesn't want anyone to know. So I'm very hopeful from that perspective as well, because if you figure the Chiefs kind of need an extra receiver next year, if they want to move on. You guys are going to be very surprised to hear this. I think Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to have a big season this year. I think he's going to have a big year. And that's coming from somebody who's not particularly high in the skill set. But I think that built into what they already were trying to do last year, if they hit those big plays they almost did last year, we're talking about a guy who was close to 1,000 yards probably. And that's something that I think we're looking at this year, because he's going to take those big shots. And I want to stress, speed is still very important in this offense. And Marquez brings speed. He brings lights out speed. I want to see them use him more like they did against Cincinnati in the playoffs. I know they had to because of the injuries, but he shined. He really did shine with some of those. I still think that the yak stuff isn't there, but give him space. Get it. Scheme him into space. Let him use that speed, because now you don't really have that dynamic from McCole Hardman. You don't. Outside of Marquez, that's what you got. I mean, from a speed perspective, I don't necessarily think that Sky Moore is best in that regard. I think he showed that he wasn't as good as you wanted him to be. I think they should use MVS a little bit more in that regard. But
yeah,
Justyn Ross is the guy that you could feasibly bring in next year if he's ready to go, and get him some reps as an X to let him see, look, this is what it's going to be like. But if you're coming into OTAs and you're still not feeling right, that's more of your body might never be right. That's what I'm worried about.
There's certainly risk there. I think trying to keep up with the rest of the league is definitely something that we have to keep an eye on, because that's got to happen as well. The AFC West, we'll start looking at matchups here in the coming weeks, folks, about what the rest of the AFC West looks like as well. But you still have a little bit of time, but this is about where you got to make that progress, and that's where it is. There's one other position that is kind of in the same boat for me anyway, and it's because it's wide open as to what's really real and what's really an idea. And what's your position that sounds like that? We'll see if it's the same one.
Wide open. Man, I mean, technically the backup tight end position is where I'm going to, because what are we waiting for now? They didn't draft a tight end. They still want Jody there, and Noah Gray. He did take a step forward, but I don't think Noah Gray is like this great number 2 receiver or number 2 tight end that they're just gonna put out there that can do everything Travis Kelce does. So is this the year we see Jody Fortson take the step? He's getting older too. He was an older prospect coming out, and he's gone back and forth of wide receiver, tight end, wide receiver. He is stuck at tight end right now. Like, he's done a good job getting better as blocking and being there to, be committed tight end. And I think last year he was clearly, outside of Travis Kelce, the most explosive tight end on the roster, bar none. Like, there was nobody. He was catching touchdowns. He was catching balls deep down the field. This is the year, if he's going to get injured again, we're talking about, unfortunate for him, it's not obviously his fault. You can't control injuries. You just can't do it. And when you are that size, it does come a little bit easier to you for injuries. It just does. It's natural. So what's it going to be at backup tight end? This is the year that you have to say, okay, is Noah Gray going to take that step forward? Are we going to feature Jody Fortson a little bit more to figure that out? Because, I mean, Blake Bell, sorry guys, he's not anything outside of QB sneak. That's what he's here for. He is here for quarterback sneaks. We saw Noah do that a little bit, but I need to see more out of the backup tight end position, because at the end of the day, Travis Kelce is only going to play for so long. He's only going to play for so long. You got to squeeze that juice out of that orange as much as you possibly can. Yeah, and get the rest and turn everything else over to your younger players. And at the end of the day, right now, it looks like they should be looking to draft a tight end quickly and develop
pretty continually. Right. I mean, and that falls back to Brett Veach. And like I was saying, folks, if you want to see the rest of the AFC West, Dan just did a great piece, and I do want to share it with you. It's over here at NFL 33. Graded all the AFC classes, and that's great information. And by the way, Dan, I like the picture that you chose.
Thank you.
Getting Veach out there. So if you guys want to expand outside of the Chiefs kingdom specifically and see what else is going around the league, we've added Brandon Olson as a new writer over on NFL 33. We're trying to expand all the way out and give you a look at what else is going on in the league, not just Kansas City. But Dan's piece, I enjoyed you doing this. I didn't want to take a look at it. Like the picture selection was probably some of my favorites, buddy.
Oh, I loved it. I love doing it, trying to find ones that, hey, we got some new things going on here.
I just want to shake that out. So there's a lot of questions, but Dan's piece on the AFC West, we're continuing through taking a look at the offseason grades for all the divisions, but you can also get some more information over there. That brings me to, let's see, we got Brian, we got the rookie class. Did I get everybody? Oh, I think I got everybody I wanted to get on screen. Dang, look at that. I was actually efficient today. What an idea. And there's a shot of the studio as it exists now. Going to be doing some maintenance around here. Going to be looking to do a few other things. You guys are going to see some new faces around here as well. Some on NFL 33, some here on RGR. Cody Alexander's one guy who's joined me on a number of topics that you're going to see from. And if you want to learn ball, good Lord, go check out Cody. I'll give you more information on the first piece that'll come out here on the channel. But I just want to go back and wrap it up with my biggest concern of what I want to see in OTA. And that is I want to see some consistent ability to get back in vertical sets from both of these tackles. Donovan Smith's obviously coming off of a more injury. Juwan Taylor, I have pretty good faith in playing on the right that he can set vertically. He set more 45 in Jacksonville, but I think he's made improvements. I think both of them, if they're able to be full participants in OTAs and get that chemistry with Toney and Trey in particular, I think that's going to go a long way. Now, obviously, it's not anything as intense as camp is, but that's the number one thing that I'm going to be watching news for, because if anything's going to limit the production of the Kansas City Chiefs in 2023, a problem at the tackle spot is going to be it, because that's going to put Patrick back into fight or flight mode. And we know some good things happen in those pieces and some bad things happen in those places. So that's kind of where I'm focused at the end of the day.
Yeah, I get that. You go back to last year, even just thinking about the Bengals regular season game. There were times where he couldn't trust the offensive line, and we see what happens there. There are guys that were open on that final play of regulation for the Chiefs, and guess what? Mahomes couldn't do anything about it because he couldn't see him. He was too busy trying to run for his life. So your quarterback is only as good as the time you can give him, in my opinion, for the most part, because sometime even him getting out of the pocket will be met with a hit or will be met with an interception. If he can sit back, that's one takeaway for me. Okay. The Super Bowl performance. Okay. Bum ankle. Yes, he did run, and he set up that game-winning field goal with that run. But 90% of the damage that he caused was sitting back in the pocket. He was not faced with much pressure at all. That's right there. That's your floor. That's what you want the offense to be. And then you say, okay, here's a getting out of pocket structurally, because we can do that. We can get you out of the pocket. Yes, every now and then, but you want him operating from the pocket. You want everybody in the world to think, hey, we keep him in the pocket and we have a good chance. No, you don't. You absolutely don't. He's the most underrated quarterback in the NFL from the pocket, in my opinion, because of everything he does outside the pocket. He doesn't get the credit for dissecting a defense, for just getting the ball out quickly. Like Tom Brady gets the ball out quicker than any other quarterback like ever. And it's because he was a pre and post snap genius. Well, guess what? Patrick Mahomes has gotten to the point where he can identify pre and post snap where he wants to go with the football. And 85 to 90% of the time, he's absolutely right. Keep him in the pocket, keep him on his toes, keep him on his feet. This is what this is. These tackles are going to be able to do it. There's no defense in the NFL. Doesn't even the Bengals, who had a great game plan for the Chiefs. Even the Patriots, who have been able to just frustrate the Chiefs. It won't matter. They can do whatever they need to. So, yeah, I'm with you on the tackles.
Both of whom the Chiefs will see this season later in the season. That stretch that we talked about 2 weeks ago, that's going to be tough. We'll revisit that when we get closer into the dead time between OTAs and camp. Don't worry. We'll emphasize some of those points that we're all going to have to be paying attention to. But we'd like to know, what else are you guys thinking about for OTAs coming up? Leave them down in the YouTube comments for sure. We would like to see them all. I know some of you guys that are live have already left them. I'll try to recap that as we're both tied up here on Sunday night. So we pre-recorded this. If you jumped in late, this was recorded ahead of time. Tomorrow night is Q&A, so we will be back to normal on Monday night. It will be an hour later. We shifted it for the summer because folks are having a hard time getting to it, as I am as well. So it'll be, 7 p.m.
7 Central.
7 Central. That's hard for me to say. I'm getting used to it. But 7 Central, Monday night, you guys will have a stream and we'll be answering your questions. So please like, sub, hit the bell. If you're new, check out the store. Get in the Discord. You can go check it out for free right now. You'll have to be a member in order to get the full access. But go check out RGR Nation. I think you guys will dig it. Dan, thanks for taking the time a little bit earlier than we usually do.
Of course, man. Everyone's got to know. Everyone has to know what we're doing, and they got to know what's going on with Chiefs Kingdom. So, yeah. Anytime you guys just don't feel free. I mean, don't feel free. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter. Anywhere you guys could get at me. I'll more than likely respond if I got time.
And believe me, we'll be watching everything. Brett Veach is in the office right now working on something. We'll be paying attention as well. So have a great one. We'll talk to you tomorrow.